God has really put it on my heart today to just to have a real talk about real things, things that are going on in the world that really impact every single one of us. And I'm talking right now about the tragedies, the mass shooting in Uvalde this past week, which is so devastating. The ongoing invasion of Russia into Ukraine, and this all on top of all the losses, some death of friends and family, and all kinds of other losses that we've all gone through the last 2 years because of COVID. There's been a lot, and it has impacted a whole lot of people, struggling with anxiety, struggling with depression, discouragement. What difference does it make? How am I supposed to respond? And I just want to tell you, these are really normal feelings. It's okay to feel. God made you to feel. I feel some of the same things. And I just wanted to share with you today a few of the things that I believe would help you, ways that God has helped me to kind of navigate through these tragedies, these feelings we have at times of being overwhelmed. So I just want to share some of that with you today. I want to reiterate again that in the midst of all the really heavy things going on around the world, it's understandable that you're feeling some of the burden of that. And that's a lot of times what we feel, isn't it? Like, I should be doing something. There must be more I can do. And yet that almost helpless feeling, what can I do really? Of course, we can pray. We can pray for the peace of those who have, like with the children that were just shot and killed in Uvalde, Texas. Yes, we feel. I did. I shed some tears. I prayed for God to bring comfort and peace to these families. And then, as it lingers and you hear more news, that overwhelmed feeling kind of comes back. Like, what can we do? One of the things I want to encourage you to do with your feelings is, first of all, to allow yourself to have them. We don't really want to be shutting down our feelings and telling ourselves that we weren't allowed to. And some of you weren't allowed, really, growing up to have feelings. You were told to zip it. You were, told big boys, big girls don't cry. Things like that. Well-meaning parents who kind of were shutting down our feelings. Well, I want to tell you that feelings are actually really important to feel, to experience. But then the question is, what do you do with them? And if you have a good, trusted friend who's really good at listening, who will ask really good questions to draw those feelings out, that's a great gift. And I would say, please utilize that. Maybe there's a pastor, a counselor, somebody that you can go and just talk to. I want to remind you of a couple things that I hope will help you. One is just a reminder that you weren't meant to know everything going on around the world, nor were you meant to feel the weight of the responsibility of taking care of those things. And I share that because you and I don't think about it much, because in our world today, we look at our phone, we jump on the computer, and we just with a few strikes of a key or a command on our phone, we're brought right into the reality of whatever the tragedy is. We can watch video after video after video if we want to, and see the horrors and hear all the frustrations. And I'm not saying that maybe a little of that isn't important. Like, I'm not suggesting we bury our head in the sands and don't care. Yes, we care. It's one of the reasons why I did shed some tears when I, in this last week, heard about the mass shooting. It's very sad. But this is what I want to say, is that it's only very recent history, and I'm talking now only the last generation, that has this kind of direct access that keeps it all right in front of us if that's what we choose to do. And I don't believe at all that we were meant to know everything going on around the world. And I just want to draw your attention, if you just look back at the Bible, look at Abraham and Sarah, who God made a covenant promise with, that he would take care of them and he would bless them, and they would, their generations were going to multiply. They didn't know what was going on around the world. They knew what was going on in their little tiny section, little corner of the world. And even then, mostly what was going on in their lives, in their relationships, in their region. Same thing with King David. Maybe he knew about some of the regions around him because he was a king. He still didn't know what was going on in most parts of the world. I'm just sharing this to say that that sense of overwhelmness is coming from so much information that I don't believe we were meant to know. And so all I can suggest to you is be careful about how much you choose to bury into, some of the tragedies. It's good to hear about it. It's a little bit. It's good to pray for sure. But I want to encourage you, if you're feeling overwhelmed, step away from CNN or whatever news broadcast you would see. Don't be just scrolling one video after another of the tragedies. Step away, and I'm going to tell you what to step away into in just a moment. Okay? But another one thing I want to remind you of is this, that often one of our motivations, as weird as this is going to sound, for worrying or getting stressed out or anxious about world events, about tragedies, is because we somehow kind of think it's helping. I know that sounds weird, and you'd say right away, no, I don't. Except really, honestly, if think about it, why would we keep worrying and being anxious? Something we're processing. We're trying to work something out because something in us thinks that if we work it out, something is going to get better, even though mostly it's worry and stress. Jesus even said, why worry about tomorrow? Tomorrow's got enough worries of its own. And that at first could seem like, I don't know, like uncaring. Like what? But no, Jesus actually knew what he was talking about. He's saying that's not actually what you were created for. You were created to enjoy life. And once again, I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But you were created for that, not to get stressed out and work in your own mind and overwork and get anxious and worried about future things that haven't happened yet. And Jesus says, don't go there. That's really not for you to worry about. He even says things like wars, famines. There are things like this that are going to happen. He says, don't be afraid. Don't be anxious about those things. What he's getting at is there is a greater good that's coming, but honestly, what he's saying is that's beyond you. That's not for you to figure out, but understand that there is a much greater, bigger thing going on in God's kingdom. And some of these other things are going to have to work themselves out. People will make bad choices at times. That's why we're seeing so many of the tragedies. These things are happening, but there's a greater good that's going to come. And Jesus says, trust me. You're going to have to trust. Trust that it's not yours to worry about these things. I hope that what I'm sharing doesn't sound like scolding. We all, myself included, can fall into these things that really aren't helpful. But what do we do instead? One of the things I would encourage you to do, probably number one on the list, is reconnect when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling the weight of these tragedies. You don't know what to do. Does my life really matter? What difference am I making? I want to encourage you. Reconnect with the Spirit of God who lives within you. It sounds so simple, And you and I both know it's not always that simple. Because what it does is it requires real intentionality to say, I'm not going to let these other things flood me anymore. No, I'm going to push these back. I'm going to choose to sit and breathe and remember the heart of my Father for me. Just today, I was sitting outside in my backyard. It's a place I like to go to do just what I said, to breathe, to sit, to be. And I just, as I'm sitting there, just choosing to carve moments out where I'm not going to stress about things, maybe things I think I should be doing or things in the world that seem to be going awry. Nope. I get to be in this moment. And so in that moment, I look over and I see just a few feet away from me, I have a hummingbird feeder over a gorgeous amaryllis plant that's in full bloom. And this hummingbird is there just, enjoying, engaging, loving the nectar that's coming out of that hummingbird feeder. And I am sitting there full on enjoying this hummingbird. And God's been helping me to be so present in the moments, like knowing as they're happening, this is a moment I'm really enjoying. Oh yeah, I'm going to enjoy it even more. See what I mean? That's that intentionality again. And so in that moment, I just basically leaned into the enjoyment of it. And I felt it. I literally felt the joy wash through my body like, oh, this is so great. This simple thing is so great. And then the very next feeling or thought that I had was how my Father in heaven enjoys me, enjoys watching me just as I am enjoying watching this hummingbird. And suddenly that flooded me with another dose of joy, another wave. This is what I mean with reconnecting with the Spirit of God in you. Jesus said this. He said, I want you to come to me. Come to me. That's his invitation, please. He knows, believe me, he knows everything that's going on. The things that are robbing us of our joy, the things that are feeling so overwhelming, the tragedies that have happened around us. And he says, come here. Come on. He says, come to me, all of you who are weary and you carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. This is his promise, and I want you to take him up on his promise. Just draw in, find a place, quiet yourself. Jesus, you said, if I'd just come and sit with you, you'd give me rest. You'd take these burdens off. So they're too heavy for me. These are the conversations I want to encourage you to have. And there's another place where Jesus said to us, he said, peace I leave with you. He says, my peace, I give it to you. I don't give to you as the world does. See, the world kind of gives and takes things in the moment based on the world system is what's in it for me. And sometimes a lot of the things that seem like they're real gifts turn out not to be. You understand, the world is just different than Jesus. Jesus says, no, the peace I give to you is real. No strings attached. I'm not going to steal it back. It's a gift. It's for you. And he says, so do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. Really, he's saying to you, it's okay. He's not just saying it's going to be okay. That's true too. But he's saying it is okay. I'm right here with you. Another thing you can do positively in these times when you feel overwhelmed by tragedies, what do? Love. Choose to love. Once again, I know that sounds so simple, like, hello, yes, I know. No. When we don't know what to do because darkness seems to be invading certain portions of the world or certain situations, and we know we have no control over that. What we do have is where we are and our circle and our influence. And when we choose to love, it matters. It matters. If everybody in the world were choosing to love, can you imagine what would happen? But we can't make everybody around the world choose to love. However, you and I, we can choose today, right now, to love. What does love look like? It restores. Love believes the best in other people. Love doesn't hold on to past hurts. There's a lot of different ways that love looks like. And I'm just saying, choose to do that and ask for God's help to do that. Another thing you can do is to be light. When it seems like darkness is creeping in places, you get to be the light. All Jesus told us was don't hide your light. He didn't say try to make light. He said you are the light of the world is what he told us. And what he said is just don't cover it up. Light is very similar to love. It illuminates, it gives hope. When you come into a room and you bring your light with you and you don't hide it, it's going to bring joy. It's going to cause others to suddenly feel better and they're not sure why. And it's the light that you're bringing. So just don't cover it up. And your light, choosing to release the light of Jesus within you, it makes a difference. It really does. Keep going. Don't give up. Really, honestly, that's really what we can do is keep going. Don't give up. Discouragement, depression, when there seems to be so many of these tragedies, how do we overcome them? Don't give up. Those things want us to get us to give up. Those feelings of just wanting to throw in the towel. Yeah, you know what? Talk those feelings out with someone. Have them help you process it. And then you get back in the game. You say, you know what, Lord, I don't have the answers. I don't really know how to make a difference over there or over there. That's beyond me. However, I know that with my heart, I choose love. I choose to be love. I choose to be light to the people around me, to encourage, to give hope. This is what you can do. It matters. It matters. It matters. And so the last thing I would say to you is this. I would say, enjoy life. We were actually meant to enjoy life. And we forget that in the heaviness. We just forget it at times. Well, what that really means, that's a nice, meme, I guess, enjoy life, right? What does that really mean? It means enjoying this moment that you're in, because this is the moment, the slice of life that you have. I mentioned to you just a moment ago that example of seeing the hummingbird and choosing to really take time, revel in that moment of joy. But there's a lot of things you can do. Pick up the phone and talk to somebody who's life-giving for you. You know what that does? It starts to build you up. You start to remember, oh yeah, that's right. There are people that I love. There's, maybe you've lost some people that you really love. How do you move on? One of the ways is you remember others who you also have connection with, who are life-giving for you. Connect with them. And when you're in that moment, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Do some things that you enjoy. Go out on walks. I don't know what you enjoy, but think about it for a moment and do some of those things. And as you're doing them, be aware of the joy that it's bringing you and be okay with that. Don't feel guilt. Well, I shouldn't be enjoying myself. There's too many hard things going on in the world. No, if you're consumed by the hard things, honestly, and that starts bringing you down, which is what it will do, then you're really not going to be of much use to the people right around you. But if we can take those moments with connecting with God's heart, we remember that we're loved. We remember that God wants us to enjoy life. Then in that moment, now we're going to approach things a bit differently, aren't we? And we're going to be that light. We're going to be that love. I hope this has been helpful for you. And I just encourage you that Jesus says to you again, I'm right here. It's okay.